What happens when a royal prince walks onto one of America's most beloved talk shows and turns a simple interview into an absolute disaster? In just 32 seconds of one single comment, Prince Harry went from welcomed guest to escorted off the stage in what became the most shocking moment in daytime television history. The View was having what seemed like a regular Tuesday morning. The studio audience filled the seats, cameras were rolling, and the panel of co-hosts sat ready at their table. Sunny Hostin, known for her sharp legal mind and no-nonsense approach, was leading the interview segment that day. Prince Harry had been booked weeks in advance to discuss his charity work and new initiatives. Everyone expected a pleasant, feel-good conversation. When Prince Harry walked out onto the stage, the audience erupted in applause. He smiled, waved, and took his seat across from the panel. The energy was positive. The lights were bright. Everything seemed perfect for what should have been a straightforward interview. Sunny started with a warm welcome. "Thank you so much for being here today. We're really excited to talk with you about the incredible work you've been doing." Prince Harry nodded. "Thank you for having me." The first few questions went smoothly. Sunny asked about his recent charity events, about the causes close to his heart, about his vision for making a difference. Prince Harry answered each question with practiced ease, speaking about his foundation and his goals. The audience listened politely. Everything was going exactly as planned. But then Sunny shifted gears. She's a former prosecutor, after all, and she knows how to dig deeper. "I want to ask you about something that's been on a lot of people's minds," she said, her tone still friendly but more direct. "There's been some criticism about how some of your charitable funds are being allocated. Can you speak to that?" The mood in the studio changed instantly. Prince Harry's smile faded. His jaw tightened. "I don't think that's a fair question," he said. Sunny remained calm and professional. "Well, it's a question a lot of people are asking. When you're running a public charity, transparency is important. I'm just giving you a chance to address it." Prince Harry leaned back in his chair, his body language becoming defensive. "You know, this is exactly what I'm talking about. The media always trying to create problems where there aren't any." The audience shifted uncomfortably. This wasn't the pleasant interview they'd expected. Sunny, however, didn't back down. She's faced tougher interrogations than this in courtrooms across the country. "I'm not trying to create problems. I'm asking a legitimate question that your donors and supporters might want answered." "My donors and supporters trust me," Prince Harry shot back, his voice rising slightly. "They don't need you questioning how I run my organization." Whoopi Goldberg, sitting next to Sunny, tried to lighten the mood. "Let's take a breath here," she said with a gentle laugh. "Nobody's attacking anyone." But Prince Harry wasn't having it. He turned his attention to Whoopi. "With all due respect, I didn't come here to be interrogated like I'm on trial." Sunny jumped back in, her voice steady and measured. "You're not on trial. But when you're a public figure asking people for money and support, you have to expect questions. That's just how it works." "That's how it works in America, maybe," Prince Harry said, and there was an edge to his voice that made everyone in the studio tense up. "But where I come from, we have a little thing called respect." The audience gasped. Even the crew members behind the cameras exchanged glances. Did he really just say that? Sunny's face remained composed, but her eyes sharpened. Respect goes both ways, and I think American audiences deserve respect too, which means getting honest answers to honest questions. Prince Harry laughed, but it wasn't a friendly laugh. It was condescending, dismissive. "You really think you're clever, don't you?" Now the other co-hosts were getting uncomfortable. Joy Behar leaned forward. "Hey, come on now, let's keep this civil." But Prince Harry was on a roll, and he clearly didn't appreciate being challenged. "I've sat through interviews with some of the toughest journalists in the world. Real journalists. And I come on this show thinking it's going to be a nice conversation, and instead I get ambushed by someone who thinks she's Sherlock Holmes." The insult hung in the air. Sunny took a breath, and when she spoke, her voice was calm but firm. I'm not ambushing you. I asked you one question about your charity's finances. One question. If that feels like an ambush to you, maybe you should ask yourself why. Maybe you should ask yourself why you feel the need to attack everyone who sits in that chair, Prince Harry countered. I don't attack people, Sunny said, her professionalism never wavering. I ask questions. That's what journalists do. That's what this show does. If you can't handle a single question without getting defensive and insulting, then maybe you're not ready for this kind of platform. Prince Harry stood up suddenly, his microphone still clipped to his jacket. You know what? I don't need this. I don't need to sit here and be disrespected by someone who clearly has an agenda. The studio went completely silent. The audience didn't know whether to gasp or applaud or just sit in stunned silence. Most chose silence. Sunny remained seated, looking up at him with complete composure. The only agenda I have is getting to the truth. If that bothers you, that says more about you than it does about me. This is unbelievable, Prince Harry said, shaking his head. He looked at the audience as if expecting them to back him up. But the crowd just stared. You invite me here, you act like you want to have a real conversation, and then you blindside me with gotcha questions. Ana Navarro, another co-host, spoke up. Nobody blindsided you. Sunny asked you about something that's been reported in multiple outlets. That's fair game. Prince Harry turned to her. Oh, so now you're all ganging up on me. Is that how this works? Nobody's ganging up on you, Sunny said, still seated, still calm. You're being asked to explain something. Instead of explaining it, you're throwing a tantrum. Those words hit like a bomb. Prince Harry's face turned red. A tantrum? You think this is a tantrum? Let me tell you something. I've dealt with press harassment my entire life. I've had photographers chase my car. I've had tabloids print lies about me and my family. And I've handled all of it with dignity. But I will not sit here and let some talk show host who's never accomplished anything close to what I have talked down to me like I'm a child. The audience gasped again, louder this time. He'd crossed a line, and everyone knew it. Sunny's expression didn't change, but her words cut through the tension like a knife. I've been a prosecutor. I've put criminals behind bars. I've fought for justice in courtrooms where people's lives were on the line. I've worked my way up through a system that wasn't built for people who look like me. So don't you dare sit there and tell me I haven't accomplished anything. The audience erupted in applause. Not polite applause. Real, loud, supportive applause. Prince Harry looked around, realizing he'd lost the room completely. This is a joke, he muttered. The only joke here is your behavior, Sunny said. You came on this show as a guest. You were treated with respect. You were asked one tough question, and you completely fell apart. That's not our fault. That's yours. I don't have to listen to this, Prince Harry said, reaching for his microphone to take it off. You're right, you don't, Sunny agreed. The door's right there. Whoopi tried one more time to mediate. Okay, let's all just take a second here. But Prince Harry was already unhooking his mic. I'm done. This is absolutely ridiculous. You people have no idea how to treat a guest. We know exactly how to treat a guest, Sunny said, and we know how guests are supposed to behave too. You're not above being questioned, just because you were born into royalty. Prince Harry pointed at her. You know what your problem is? And you think being on television makes you important. You think sitting behind that desk gives you the right to talk to people however you want. I think doing my job gives me the right to do my job, Sunny replied. And my job is to ask questions. If you can't handle that, then you shouldn't be doing interviews. Prince Harry threw his microphone down onto the chair. The sound echoed through the studio. I've done hundreds of interviews. Hundreds. And I've never been treated this disrespectfully. Maybe because you've never been held accountable before, Sunny said. That was it. That was the breaking point. Prince Harry's face went from red to almost purple. Held accountable? By you? You're a talk show host. You're not royalty. You're not special. You're just someone who got lucky enough to get on television." The entire panel went silent. The audience's collective jaw dropped. Even the cameras seemed to stop moving. Sunny stood up slowly. When she spoke, her voice was ice cold. "Get off my stage." "Excuse me?" Prince Harry said. "You heard me," Sunny said. "Get off my stage. This interview is over. You came here as a guest, and you've been nothing but disrespectful, condescending, and downright rude. I asked you one question. One. And you've spent the last several minutes insulting me, insulting this show, and insulting everyone who works here. So I'm done. We're done. Leave." Prince Harry looked around at the other co-hosts, but none of them came to his defense. They all sat there, some nodding in agreement with Sunny, others just looking shocked. "You can't kick me off," Prince Harry said, but his voice had lost its confidence. "I absolutely can," Sunny said. "This is our show. You're a guest, and guests who can't act with basic decency don't get to stay. So either you walk off that stage right now, or security will help you." The audience began to applaud again, this time even louder. They were cheering for Sunny, supporting her completely. Prince Harry looked at the audience, then back at Sunny. "This is insane. You're all insane." "We're not the ones who melted down over a simple question," Ana Navarro said. "I didn't melt down," Prince Harry insisted, even though everyone watching could see that's exactly what he'd done. "You're still here," Sunny said. "I told you to leave." Prince Harry grabbed his jacket from the back of the chair. "Fine. I don't want to be here anyway. This show is a joke. You're all jokes." "And yet you begged your people to book you here," Joy Behar said. "Funny how that works." Prince Harry's mouth opened like he wanted to say something else, but no words came out. He just stood there for a second, looking like a man who'd completely lost control of the situation and didn't know how to get it back. "Goodbye," Sunny said firmly. Prince Harry turned and started walking toward the exit, but he couldn't help himself. He stopped, turned back around, and pointed at Sunny one more time. "You have no idea who you're messing with." Sunny didn't even blink. "I know exactly who I'm dealing with. Someone who thinks their title makes them better than everyone else. Someone who can't handle being treated like a regular person. Someone who throws a fit when they don't get their way. Now get out before I have you escorted out." The audience was on their feet now, applauding and cheering. Some were even whistling. Prince Harry's face was a mixture of rage and humiliation. He turned and stormed toward the exit, his footsteps heavy and angry. As he reached the door, he turned one last time. "You'll regret this." "I doubt it," Sunny called after him. And with that, Prince Harry shoved the door open and disappeared backstage. The door slammed behind him with a loud bang that echoed through the studio. For a moment, nobody moved. Nobody spoke. The audience just stood there, applauding, while the co-hosts sat at their table looking at each other in disbelief. Then, Sunny sat back down, smoothed her jacket, and looked directly into the camera. "Well," she said with the slightest hint of a smile, "that was interesting." The audience erupted in laughter and more applause. Whoopi put her head in her hands, shaking with laughter. Joy was wiping tears from her eyes. Anna just sat there with her mouth open. "I asked him one question," Sunny said to the camera, holding up a single finger. "One question about charity finances. That's all it took." The applause continued. The audience loved her. They were completely on her side. "You know what?" Sunny continued. "If you can't answer basic questions about how you're spending donor money, maybe you shouldn't be running a charity. And if you can't handle being asked those questions without insulting everyone in the room, maybe you shouldn't be doing interviews." More cheers from the audience. "I've interviewed senators, my congresspeople, lawyers, activists, celebrities, all kinds of people," Sunny went on, "and most of them, even when they disagree with me, Even when I ask them hard questions, they handle it with grace. They answer the question, or they explain why they can't, or they respectfully disagree. They don't throw tantrums. They don't insult people. They act like adults. The audience was hanging on every word. But apparently, asking about financial transparency is too much for some people, Sonny said. Apparently, doing my job as a journalist is disrespectful. Apparently, holding people accountable is an attack. Whoopi finally lifted her head. Girl, you didn't do anything wrong. You asked a fair question. I know I did, Sonny said, and I'd ask it again. Joy leaned forward. Can we talk about how he said you've never accomplished anything? Like, does he not know who you are? Clearly not, Anna said. Sonny waved her hand dismissively. It doesn't matter. People who feel threatened always resort to insults. It's what they do when they can't defend their position. Well, he definitely felt threatened, Whoopi said. Because he knew he didn't have a good answer, Sonny explained. Look, if your charity is above board, if everything's being handled properly, you should be able to answer questions about it. The fact that he couldn't, the fact that he got so defensive so quickly, that tells you everything you need to know. The audience applauded again. And the entitlement, Joy added. The absolute entitlement of thinking he could come on here and not be asked real questions. That's what happens when you've been treated special your whole life, Anna said. You think you deserve special treatment everywhere you go. Sonny nodded. But not here. Not on this show. We don't care if you're a prince or a pauper. If you're sitting in that chair, you're going to be asked real questions. And if you can't handle that, then don't sit in the chair. The audience gave her a standing ovation. The applause went on for several seconds. When it finally died down, Sonny looked back at the camera. We have to go to commercial break. When we come back, we'll talk about something a little less dramatic. I promise. The audience laughed, and the show cut to commercial. Backstage, producers were scrambling. Nobody had ever seen anything like this before. A guest had never walked off. Well, technically, he'd been kicked off. But either way, it was unprecedented. The stage manager approached Sonny during the break. That was incredible. Are you okay? I'm fine, Sonny said calmly. He's the one who should be worried. Do we need to make a statement? One of the producers asked. The tape speaks for itself, Sonny replied. We asked a fair question. He couldn't handle it. End of story. Back in the studio, the audience was buzzing with energy. People were talking to each other, replaying what they'd just witnessed. Some were recording messages on their phones, probably telling friends and family what had just happened right in front of them. When the show came back from commercial, Sonny addressed the audience directly. I know that was a lot, and I want to be clear about something. We don't enjoy conflict on this show. That's not what we're about. But we also don't back down from asking important questions, and we don't tolerate disrespect. The audience applauded in agreement. When you come on The View, you know what you're signing up for, Sonny continued. We're going to have real conversations. We're going to ask tough questions, and we're going to expect honest answers. If you're not ready for that, then this isn't the show for you. Whoopi nodded. And we're going to treat you with respect, but we expect that respect to be mutual. Exactly, Sonny said. I was polite. I was professional. I asked a straightforward question about something that's been publicly reported. His reaction was completely out of line. Completely, Joy agreed. Niana looked at the camera. And let's be honest. If any of us had acted that way, we'd be dragged through the mud. But somehow, I'm guessing he's going to try to play the victim here. Let him try, Sonny said with a shrug. Everyone saw what happened. The cameras don't lie. The rest of the show continued, but everyone knew what the headlines would be about. Everyone knew what would be playing on repeat on social media and news channels for the next several days. The moment when a prince walked onto The View and walked off in disgrace. In the co-host room after the show ended, the women gathered to debrief. I still can't believe that happened, Whoopi said. I can, Sunny replied. People like that aren't used to being challenged. They're used to everyone just nodding along and telling them how great they are. Well, he picked the wrong person to try that with, Joy said. And the wrong show, Anna added. Sunny smiled. I don't feel bad about it. Not even a little bit. He came here thinking he could charm his way through and avoid any real questions. And when that didn't work, he showed his true colors. Those colors were not pretty, Whoopi said, and they all laughed. The question is, Joy said, do you think he'll ever show his face on American television again? After that performance, Anna said, I wouldn't. Sunny shook her head. He will. People like that always do. They'll wait a few weeks, let things cool down, and then they'll try to rehabilitate their image. They'll go on some friendly show where they won't be asked hard questions, and they'll try to spin what happened here. Good luck with that, Whoopi said. The video is out there. People saw it. Exactly, Sunny said. And that's why I'm not worried. The truth is on our side. The conversation continued as they gathered their things and prepared to leave for the day. But all of them knew that this would be a day they'd remember for a long time. The day they witnessed a prince have a complete meltdown on live television. The day Sunny Hostin stood her ground and refused to be intimidated. The day The View showed everyone that no one, not even royalty, is above being asked tough questions. The audience members who'd been in the studio that day would tell the story for years. They'd been there. They'd seen it with their own eyes. They'd watched as a simple question about charity finances turned into one of the most dramatic moments in talk show history. And at the center of it all was Sunny Hostin, calm and professional throughout, never raising her voice, never losing her composure, simply doing her job and refusing to accept disrespect. She'd asked a question, a fair, reasonable, important question. And when the guest couldn't handle it, when he lashed out and insulted her, she'd stood up for herself and her show. That's what professionalism looks like. That's what integrity looks like. That's what happens when someone who's used to special treatment meets someone who treats everyone the same, regardless of their title or status. The viewers at home had watched it all unfold in real time. Their phones had blown up with texts and calls. Social media had exploded with reactions. Everyone had an opinion, but the facts were simple and clear. A guest came on a show. The host asked a question. The guest couldn't answer it and got defensive. The host remained professional. The guest got insulting. The host stood her ground. The guest was asked to leave. The guest left. That's the story. That's what happened. No spin, no exaggeration, no drama added. Just a host doing her job and a guest who couldn't handle being treated like everyone else. In living rooms across America, people watched and rewatched the clip. They shared it. They commented on it. They took sides, though most of them sided with Sunny. Because at the end of the day, most people understand that when you're asked a reasonable question, you should either answer it or politely decline. You don't attack the person asking. You don't insult them. You don't throw a fit and storm off the stage. That's not how adults behave. That's not how professionals behave. That's not how people who actually care about the causes they claim to support behave. And in one 32-second moment, with one dismissive comment about Sunny's accomplishments, Prince Harry had shown everyone exactly who he was. Not a champion for charity, not a thoughtful advocate. Just someone who expected to be treated like royalty and couldn't handle it when he wasn't. Sunny, on the other hand, had shown everyone exactly who she was too. A professional. A journalist. Someone who asks the questions that need to be asked. Someone who doesn't back down. Someone who demands respect, but also gives it, right up until the moment it's weaponized against her. The lights in the studio were turned off. The audience had gone home. The crew had packed up. But the impact of what had happened would continue. The video would be shared thousands of times. The story would be told and retold. And every time someone watched it, they'd see the same thing. A prince who thought he was above questioning, and a host who proved he wasn't. That's the moment. That's the story. That's what happens when entitlement meets accountability. One of them walks away looking strong. The other one just walks away.